chess friends, I hope you are doing well. As you know, Stockfish 17 was recently released, and I played with my best friend LeelaZero, who is the top chess AI with a high performance rating. This game was completely marvelous and wonderful because not only did I sacrifice my bishop, but I will also illustrate how to attack on the king side and defend very well. So, let's get started without wasting any time. I started the game with d4, we have knight f6 and c4. And rather than considering e6 and bishop to b4, delving into the Nc3 Indian defense, she played g6. Don't ask me why the chess AI loves to play the modern variation, also called the so-called pirate defense. These are the chess move sequences that Leela can employ in her game, and after a couple of moves, we have e4 to gain control over the center and claim the space as my property, where, of course, bishop d3, queen c2, and I can push forward my kingside pawns as I've illustrated many times in my previous chess videos. Okay, Leela played d6, and we have f3, where I can play g4 and h4. As you can see, after castling, we have bishop to g5, putting pressure on the knight because the knight is protecting that h5 square. Now it is very sustainable for me to consider h4 and h5, therefore, after knight d7, we have knight to h3. Am I mad or drunk? No, not at all, because I love to play knight f2 to control these squares, knowing that Leela is going to break open the center by playing e5, attacking the pawn, rather than capturing the e5 pawn and doing center exchanges, which would decrease my attacking chances with my h-pawn. I decided not to, because my structure isn't good at all. The d-file will be wide open, which is not good for me. So, going back to the position, I played d5, locking down the position. Of course, black gets 2 outposts for her pieces, which is why knight c5 was considered by Leela to capture my knight. Leela is doing a very good job because she is a brilliant chess player and also my best friend. At this point, capturing the knight is not a good idea, because after the exchanges, the bishop and a5 will arrive, and you can see that her most powerful piece will be active there. h5, followed by bishop h6, can arrive to siege this diagonal, which will be prophylactic for her. Alright, so going back to the position, we discovered that capturing the knight on f6 is a very bad choice. That's why I moved back my bishop, and after a couple of moves, we have queen to d2 to attack the pawn. Leela played king to h7 to protect her kingside very well. Now Leela's strategy is revealing that she wants to play f5, but before that, she might consider knight f4 and open up the f-file. Noticing all these attacks, I decided to go into a village with my king by playing long castle because I am very determined to attack the black king with my pawn army. Leela moved up her bishop. And here many players might consider g4, as it looks like a very good move. But you know what? After knight f4 and all the exchanges, Leela can play rook b8, which would look like a very slow attack, like a turtle trying to catch a rat 10 meters away, but the turtle's speed is too slow. Therefore, you may consider h4 to play g5 and break open the h-file, then b5 will arrive, and after g5, pawn exchanges will occur on c4, after rook to b4, attacking the bishop moves back, and queen to b8 will come, with a wonderful attack on the b2 pawn. How can you defend it? Even playing queen to d2 doesn't matter, because black can play a very sneaky move with her snake rope, knight to a4, attacking the pawn. Even if you capture the knight, the bishop's diagonal will be wide open, but be careful, you shouldn't capture the pawn immediately. First, you should capture the knight on a4, attacking the rook and making the position more vulnerable. As the rook moves to avoid exposure, bishop takes b2 will come, trapping the king. When the king moves to b1, bishop c3 will come with the idea of attacking both the queen and king, and the game will be over. Alright, so going back to the position, we discovered that playing g4 is a very bad choice. That's the reason we played g3, to prevent any knight entry. Black played knight to a4 to exchange pieces, and when the rook moved, we had a couple of piece dances. Now Leela is revealing her secret strategy of pushing forward her pawns, sending her army on a spaceship. Therefore, my bishop comes here, and c5 appears on the board. Can I play en passant on this move? No, because my c4 pawn will be weak and valueless, turning into a liability, like people who continuously use their credit cards and end up in debt and loans. That's a very vulnerable situation in human life, and as you can see in chess, my king will also face vulnerability due to the bishop and rook's joint attack. Therefore, my bishop moves back, and after a few moves, we have h4 to consider h5, opening up the rook file, which is all I want. After b5 and a pawn exchange, I captured the pawn on b5. At this point, Leela didn't capture the pawn on b4, instead, she played a very sneaky move, c4, where the pawn is well protected by the rook, and at the same time, she's threatening the pawn. At this point, many chess players, like a certain Nikola Tesla named but donkey-like person, might think of capturing the pawn on c4, thinking they are smart, but in reality, they are fools. Therefore, after bishop takes b5, there's a double attack. White might play b3 to protect the bishop, but here black can play a very sneaky move. Can you guess what Leela will play? First, she will capture the piece, and then she will play a brilliant move, exploiting the open diagonal and the trapped king. Guess what black can play now? Did you guess? If you found knight takes d5, then congratulations. That's the brilliant move. Now, the c-pawn is pinned to the queen. That's why, if you dare to capture the knight and be greedy, black can punish white by playing e4, checking the king. The file is seized by the rook. Therefore, after bishop b2, rook takes b2 will arrive with the idea of attacking the queen, and the game will be over. Such a poor position you created for both your game and your life. But don't worry, let me motivate you by my amazing quote. Every morning you have two choices: continue to sleep with your dreams, or wake up and chase them. So, going back to the position, we discovered that capturing the pawn was a very bad choice. That's why we moved the knight back to d1. After takes, the knight comes, and a4 happened in the following moves. To open up the bishop's diagonal, we had some pawn exchanges to open up the g file. That's how I'm going to attack LeelaZero's position by playing e5. I can even maneuver my bishop to the c3 square to gain control of this diagonal. That's what I want. After h5 was played by Leela to strengthen her structure, where the g4 square becomes an outpost for her bishop or knight, we have bishop b2, f3 to prepare e5 and open the rook file. As the king moves back, after a couple of moves, we played e5. Now we see this pawn is under attack by many pieces. Many players might think of capturing the pawn on e5, as it seems reasonable, but here, white can play a very smart move with the genius bishop. Bishop takes h5, sacrificing the bishop like the monkey king. After you capture it, the rook file will open, and notice how my queen has an open diagonal and another rook can come. I will then marvelously sacrifice my rook. After the capture, rook check, followed by queen g2, will arrive, gaining full control. The queen will surge with top speed. At this point, rook to b6 is the best move to protect the 6th rank, but if you dare to capture the pawn on e5, you're finished. You'll have to pack your bag and go home, because I will play bishop to h6, attacking the queen. As you can see, the queen cannot capture the bishop due to a checkmate, and the game will be over. There's no way to save the position. Going back to the position, we discovered that capturing the pawn on e5 is a very bad choice. That's why we played knight to c5, opening the bishop's diagonal and activating the knight in the center. Even bishop to h6 can arrive. Therefore, I played a very daring move. Can you guess? Of course, I captured the pawn on h5. The reason is clear. As I illustrated before, you cannot capture the bishop, as the rook file will open, and I will capture the bishop. After the exchanges, we have bishop to g4, attacking the rook. Many players might consider moving their rook to safety, but let me show you the variation. I will capture the pawn on e5, forcing the queen to move. Then, after h5, the king will move. After pawn exchanges, I will consider queen to h2. A couple of moves later, I will give you a check and capture the knight. Threatening to play rook f1 and check the black king, which is completely vulnerable. After bishop takes e5, I will consider bishop to h6 check. At this point, slowly but surely, I will checkmate you. The black king will be checkmated in his own territory. Going back to the variation, we discovered that moving the rook isn't possible, therefore, we have e takes f4, and h5 happened in the game. My vision is very clear. I want to open the h-file and attack LeelaZero at all costs. Leela considered knight d3, but that doesn't matter. After the exchanges, we have h6, the rook is under attack, the pawn can be captured, but the problem for black is that I will get the open h-file, the queen can also move to the h2 square. As the black king's bodyguard on the h-file is no longer there, betrayed like Judas did to Jesus, so sad. After a couple of moves, we have rook to f1, and the knight went back to e2. After all the exchanges, queen to c3 follows. After a couple more moves, we have rook e1, bishop e6. At this point, I played a very clutch move. Can you guess what I played? Of course, you can't. No matter how long you think, you're not on my level. I played rook takes e6, sacrificing the rook like a champ to unprotect the pawns. Then, I captured the pawn and played queen to f3, preparing to give a check on the f7 square and, at the same time, queen to b7. The black king will be completely vulnerable after the queen b7 check arrives in the following moves. After a few more moves, you can see that despite me having only a slight advantage, I have two connected passed pawns that will soon promote into queens. LeelaZero is feeling jealous. Her pawn may also promote to a queen, but my pawn is just stronger. A few moves later, I captured her rook, and when she promoted a new queen, I gave her a check. Don't worry, the king of LeelaZero is just too vulnerable, and will soon meet his end. At this point, I played rook to g7 to check both the king and queen. After the capture, she tried giving some checks, but it didn't matter. I'm going to promote to a new queen and checkmate her. I hope you enjoyed the game very much. If so, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. Wishing you all the best. Bye bye, take care and see you soon.